and 2:19. And este capítulo, the title is de compras. Compras refers to shopping. So we will be talking about shopping, but specifically, at least this first part of el vocabulario deals with la ropa. Okay? What is la ropa? Clothes. Okay? So we will be learning vocabulario about la ropa. Okay? And so, if you look then at the illustration, you have a tienda de ropa. And I'm actually going through this with my Español Uno right now. If you recall, the word tienda is store. So tienda de ropa, okay? Clothing store or clothes store, okay? And so, looking then at the various items, right? And so hopefully we are able to identify most of them, all right? Starting on page 218, 218, on the left-hand side with the gentleman, okay? And I even brought a prop, okay? And so did Cheyenne. La chaqueta. What is la chaqueta? Almost sounds the same in English. Jacket. Gracias. Yes. La chaqueta. So jacket. Okay, so I have mi chaqueta. Cheyenne is wearing a chaqueta. Okay, and so on. Okay. Moving on, and I want to move down, okay, because they're all kind of clumped into little groups. The same guy who's wearing la chaqueta, around his legs, it is los vaqueros, okay? Now, Gabby is wearing vaqueros today. Cheyenne is wearing vaqueros. I can't tell if Ashton is or not. Let's see, David definitely is not. Neither is Audrey. Okay, what are vaqueros? Jeans. Okay, jeans. Now, depending on which country you're in, there will be different words for jeans. Although vaqueros are is understood pretty much everywhere. Okay. But, of course, if you really want to make it easy on yourselves, los jeans is also commonly used now as well. Okay, so if you want to say los jeans, so Cheyenne is wearing los jeans, Gabby is wearing los... Are yours jeans, Ashton? I can't tell from here. Okay, gracias. All right. I mean, I could go right next to you, but that would be weird. Pero sí, okay, and so Ashton, los jeans, okay, or you can call them los vaqueros. Now, I know like in Puerto Rico, they called them los majones. I know in some countries it's, pantalones de mezclilla. Don't ask me what all that means. But it's like, just different terms, but either los jeans or los vaqueros, okay? Now, if you move down again and looking inside the little circle, okay, specifically they're focusing on la mano. I don't have one, and I don't really want to look at too many people's wrists. But la pulsera. What do you think, la pulsera? No, on her arm actually. Bracelet, sí, bracelet, la pulsera. Now, if you notice, the word pulse is there because typically you wear it around the area where you take a pulse. All right, so pulsera. Now, in some countries, I know like in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, they call it a braceleta, like literally the word bracelet, but they add like an A at the end, la braceleta. I don't like that word, but if you hear it, that's what it means. Okay. I don't have any on because I hate wearing them. And I'm looking, I don't, kind of at your hands, no. El anillo. El anillo. You wear it on your fingers. Yes, you can say it louder. Rings. Okay, rings. All right. Anyone have anillo? No, I guess not. None of you. All right. No anillos. Yeah, I don't like the feel. Some people I know, every now and then I get students with, like, on every finger and a thumb ring and everything. So el anillo. Okay. And then finally, the thing that she is holding now, Audrey, la cartera. Wallet. Okay, cartera is wallet. And it could be either a man's wallet or a woman's wallet. In this case, obviously, they're showing a woman's wallet, but it's the same word for both. Okay, so la cartera. Okay, looking at the mannequin, okay, the different things that the mannequin is holding. El paraguas. What is el paraguas? Umbrella, sí. Okay, now, if you're a dork like Santos, para means for, F-O-R, and then agua means water. So literally you call it a for water, all right, because it's to protect you from the rain, the water that falls out of the sky. Okay, so paraguas, okay, I have one in my office, but didn't feel the need to bring it today, okay? I should have worn one, but I didn't. The thing that's on her head, el sombrero. What is el sombrero? Hat, okay? Now, I know some of you are like, yeah, a sombrero, a Mexican thing. Okay, yes, it is a Mexican hat. But in Espanol, sombrero is any hat that has a brim that goes all the way around. Okay, so any kind of hat is actually a sombrero, not just the Mexican one. Okay, I don't have any. I can't see most of your ears. Okay, because with the exception of Ashton, y'all got long hair. Los aretes. Okay, aretes. They go on your ear. Earrings. Yes, los aretes. Okay, yeah, literally can't tell who has their ears pierced. I know Ashton doesn't. I don't, unless you do. No, okay. But everybody else has long hair. Okay, so los aretes. It's getting too warm, although I don't really think I saw any of you wear one when it was colder. La bufanda. What is la bufanda? Goes around your scarf. Gracias. Scarf. La bufanda, scarf. Okay. And thank you, Cheyenne, for being here today, because she has one around her neck. It's almost as long as the ladies there. El collar. You're like, oh, yeah. El collar. What is el collar? Necklace. Okay, necklace. El collar. Okay. Please be aware that the term collar can also mean collar. And of course, it's kind of funny just because both of them go around your neck. Okay, now the fact that the mannequin and Cheyenne both have really long ones, that's okay. But, because typically, sometimes necklaces are just really short and they only go around your neck. Okay. I brought props for this one, even though it's there. Los guantes. What is los guantes? Gloves, okay, gloves. Now, sometimes students will ask, what's the word for mittens? Because gloves are generally not worn in Spanish-speaking countries, and I say generally because there are exceptions, for cold weather, okay, we don't have a word for mittens, all right? It's just guantes, and I literally brought my glove mittens because they do have the cover that goes over them. Okay, so to me, these are guantes, all right, whether they're mittens or gloves, okay, los guantes, okay. I do have one, all right, sorry, don't mean to flash ya. El cinturón, belt, okay, so el cinturón, the thing to hold things up, okay, and I'm looking at the ladies, the closest thing would be Gabby here, la bolsa. Okay, what is la bolsa? Ooh. Bolsa is either bag or purse. Okay, either bag or purse. So la bolsa. Okay. Oh, Audrey has one. Lo siento, I didn't see yours. Okay, la bolsa. Okay, and then if you look at the lady that's next to the mannequin, let's see, none of the ladies or gentlemen have one today. El vestido. And I'll tell you this, vestido does not mean vest. Dress. Gracias. Okay, so yes, if you're wearing a dress, ladies or guys, it is el vestido. Okay, el vestido. All right. Going up to the top then, in kind of like the next area, kind of towards the right there, starting with the gentleman in the suit, okay? The word dependiente means like cashier or clerk or store employee. It kind of depends on what they're doing, but it could be any one of those three. Like, so if you want to translate it anyway like that, that's fine. Cashier, clerk, employee, el dependiente. Okay, I'm not wearing one. I don't think I've ever worn one this semester. Every now and then I'll put one on, but it's a man's thing. Sometimes women wear them. La corbata, it would go around my neck and under my collar. La corbata, a tie. Okay, a necktie, tie, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Now, it's pointing to both the top and the bottom, okay? El traje. Men typically wear them, sometimes women.
Silk-on jacket?
But it's also pointing to the pants. So the whole combo, all right? A suit, muy bien, suit, okay? Moving a little bit to the right. And I did wear this on purpose. El chaleco. Vest. Okay, so yeah, chaleco is vest. Okay. Vestido is dress, all right, not a vest. Okay. And then his legs, okay. Los pantalones. Okay. Pantalones are pants, so thank you. We'll go with pantalones for David. No son los jeans y pantalones for Audrey, because no son los vaqueros. Okay. If you look at the boy that's next to him, okay, and I just have to do the top button, but Cheyenne is wearing one, Ashton's wearing one. Can't tell with you two, okay, or with you, Audrey, but la camiseta. What is a camiseta? Ashton has one, Cheyenne has one. T-shirt, okay, T-shirt, all right? And there is a difference. We'll get into the other one in un momento. But if you look at the boy again, okay, pantalones are pants, once again. You have to think back to chapter 2, I think, for the word corto. Corto means short in length. So pantalones cortos would be what? Shorts, okay? Now, yes, literally the translation is short pants. Maybe your great-grandparents, I know in America in the 1950s and early 60s, they used to be called short pants. And then, of course, later people just shortened that to shorts. Okay, so los pantalones cortos. Let's see, nobody's wearing them. I guess it's not warm enough today. Maybe mañana. Pantalones cortos. Okay. Now, if you look at the guy in green, and I can show this one. Okay, la camisa. Okay, what is a camisa?
Like a button-down shirt?
Yes, just a shirt, button down. Okay, so as opposed to a camiseta that has no collar. So the big difference is the collar. So this is camisa, this is camiseta. Okay, but yes, it also involves the buttons, los botones, as opposed to this. Or I'm sure Cheyenne and Ashton threw it over their head. Okay, type of thing. All right, as opposed to buttoning it up. Okay. Moving on down, the gentleman in the gray, el abrigo. Abrigo means coat or overcoat. Okay? And so sometimes I will ask students, what is the difference between a jacket and a coat? Fashion-wise, okay? Gabby, any idea? Well, number one, jackets are usually shorter. A jacket stops at your waist. A coat goes farther down. It covers your butt at least, maybe down to your knees. Okay. Coats are usually heavier than jackets. Okay. Now, obviously, there could be some exceptions, but a coat tends to be heavier, thicker material. Whereas a jacket can be, but sometimes it's lighter. Okay. Those are the two big ones. All right. And then the last one on this page, el impermeable, okay? The word is literally impermeable, okay? Raincoat, yeah, a raincoat or a rain jacket, okay? I should have brought one of mine, but I didn't feel like bringing all kinds of stuff, especially since now it's getting warmer. So impermeable is just like a rain jacket or a raincoat, all right? So if you have one of those. All right. If you go then to the next page, starting at the top, okay. Las sandalias. Sandals, yeah. I'm checking out people's feet, and no, not for that reason. I think the closest thing would probably be Gabby. You got your Crocs on. Sandalias, okay. Now, sometimes people, and let me make sure it's not there, because sometimes it is there. It's not. Sometimes people are like, but Santos, what about chanclas, and then Puerto Ricans and Dominicans call them chancletas. Chanclas and chancletas are flip-flops, okay, the cheap plasticky ones. You've got that weird thing between your big toe and your next toe. Those are chanclas, those are chancletas. Sandalias are a little bit nicer, a little bit more formal. Maybe you could wear it with a dress, or maybe something like what Gabby has on, like Crocs would be considered sandalias. They're a little bit nicer, they cover a little more, okay? Do you have yours in turbo mode? Yeah, you do. All right. Y'all know what I mean, turbo mode? Yeah. So you've got that strap you can put on in the back. Okay. Los zapatos. What are zapatos? Shoes. Okay. So once again, I'm checking out feet. I'm the only one with zapatos. Now the rest of you are like, huh? No. Zapatos are just regular shoes, like dress shoes or whatever, just normal, average shoes. What the rest of you have on is the next word, zapatos de tenis. What is a zapato de tenis? Sneakers or some kind of athletic shoe. Okay, so zapatos de tenis, zapatos de tenis, zapatos de tenis. I can see the stripe, zapatos de tenis. Okay, the rest of y'all, besides Gabby, are all wearing sneakers. Okay, so I know it's not this kind, but I'm glad I wore it. Well, I have to. Las botas. Boots. Okay, las botas. Boots. Ooh, I've got one of each. I've got a bota and I've got a zapato. All right, so las botas, boots. So if you wear, cowboy boots or your winter boots or whatever. And then the last one that's there, zapatos de taco or zapatos de tacón. Now, I know nobody's wearing these because y'all are wearing zapatos de tenis. But what is a zapato de tacón? Heels, okay? And not that I check out people's feet, but I don't think I've seen any of you wear heels to class before. Okay, Cheyenne's like, I can't even walk in them. Don't know how to balance in them. Okay, so zapatos de tacón. Now, In some countries, it's called zapatos de taco. And of course, I kind of laugh at that because to me, being Mexican, what is a taco? Food. Yeah. So the first time I heard that, I'm just like, you've got taco shoes on? Like, what is it, like one of those novelty things? Like you can wear like the big cheese feet, you know, like the slippers. And they're like, no, you know, the thing that makes women taller. And I'm like, you mean a tacon type of thing? Okay. What would tacon alto be?
Tall shoes.
Yeah, high heels. All right. My friend Robin calls them hooker heels. Okay. But like, you know, the 6-inch, 12-inch, like, you know, the big ones. Okay. Moving on down. Los calcetines. I'm wearing calcetines. From what I can tell, Gabby is socks. Yeah. Calcetines are socks. Okay. I didn't bring one of mine, and let's see, neither Ashton nor David nor any of the ladies are wearing one. La gorra, or la gorra de béisbol. What is a gorra? Cap, all right, baseball cap, okay? So, baseball cap or just a cap only has like, you know, in the front. Sombrero, it goes all the way around. Now, it's not part of your vocabulary, but I know that living where we live, so for this I did bring one, and I brought an official MBCC one, okay? What do y'all call this in English? Beanie. Okay. In Espanol, you take a cap and you make it masculine, gorro. Okay? I've heard some people call it a sombrero, but they're wrong. It's not. All right, because it doesn't have a brim.
How do you say
Okay.
cat?
Huh?
How do you say cat?
Gato.
Cat.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. In California, we just call these winter hats or ski hats because we don't really wear them. I had a Canadian roommate in Canada. They're called toques. All right. So, but yes, a beanie. Okay. Gafas or gafas de sol. I am the only one wearing them. Glasses, yeah, glasses. Now, gafas de sol, the word sol means sun. So typically sunglasses, but if you just say gafas, then I'll give you some other words here, okay? If you add de sol, it makes them sun, okay? But gafas is the word they're giving you, okay? Anteojos or lentes. And then, of course, if you add de sol, all right, it becomes, sunglasses or any one of those, okay? Gafas de sol, anteojos de sol, lentes de sol, okay? Once again, it depends on where you are. I know gafas is used a lot in España, okay? Lentes is the word that I grew up with, so they say that in Mexico for glasses. The problem with lentes, though, is that the word lente literally means lens, okay? So we just call them lenses, okay? I know we already did the human body, but that could also be the word for the lens that's like the part that's inside of your eye, okay, the part that helps you to focus and see. So you can talk about el lente, okay? And then, of course, I don't know if any of you are cheaters and have what are lentes de contacto? Contacts, yeah, contact lenses. Anyone here have lentes de contacto? Yeah, these I'm a cheater. Yeah, I'm blind, but
I had LASIK surgery.
Hmm?
I had LASIK surgery.
Oh, we did. Okay. I used to wear contacts until I started to lose my reading vision, and then they're like, well, here's your contacts, and just here's your reading glasses now. And I'm like, wait, I have to wear contacts and glasses? I said, fuck that shit. So I have bifocals. Okay, so the top is to see, the bottom is to read. right? And then anteojos, that one is pretty much used everywhere. And I always think it's funny because if you go back to our body chapter, what are ojos? Eyes. Ante is the Latin prefix that means before. Because when you guys look at me, before you see my eyes, you see these. Okay? They are my before eyes. Anteojos. Okay? So I always think it's a funny word that we came up with. Okay? Let's see. El reloj. And I'm pointing to my arm. El reloj. Watch. Okay? And so it could be one of mine, old school analog. It could be what Ashton has. Ashton has a reloj de manzana. Okay? Is that an Apple Watch?
No, I can't.
Okay, lo siento. All right, it looks like an Apple Watch from back here, or from up here. All right, but any kind of watch. Please remember though, and I think we went over this way back in chapter uno. En español, anything that tells time is a reloj. All right, so this little part of the phone right here is el reloj. All right, if there was a wall thing, that would be a reloj. The tower above Wilcox Hall, trust me, that's a giant clock. That is a reloj. Okay. Traje de baño. We know that traje means suit. Okay. Baño means bathroom. This does not mean bathroom suit. Okay. You use it to go swimming. All right. Bathing suit. Okay. Or swimsuit. All right. Traje de baño. Okay. Moving over then to the very, very last part. Dependienta. Once again, it still means cashier or clerk or store employee, but this is the feminine, dependienta, whereas dependiente is the masculine form. Okay. La blusa. What is la blusa? Blouse. Okay, blouse. La falda. All right, none of the ladies or David or Ashton are wearing la falda, skirt, la falda, okay? And then las medias, I don't know what y'all call them today, nylons, stockings, the thing that you would wear with a skirt so your legs don't look weird. So las medias, okay? And then finally, the little boy, this one's really, 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 really hard, el suéter. Yeah, Ashton's got one on. Gracias, Ashton. All right, el suéter, sweater. Okay, and it could be any kind of sweater. All right. Now, sometimes students will ask, but Santos, what about Gabby there or David? They're wearing hoodies. They're wearing sweatshirts. Okay, it's not part of our vocab, but you may need to know it. Sudadera. Sudadera is a sweatshirt. In Espanol, we don't have different terms like if it's a hoodie, if it's a zip up, because if you look at David's is a hoodie, but it's a pullover one. Gabby's is also a hoodie, but it's a zip up. In Espanol, it would just be a sudadera. If you were wearing, I know sometimes, what's it called? A crew neck without the hood. That's also just a sudadera, okay? So any kind of sweatshirt, okay? If you go then to the blue line, all right, or the blue boxes, okay? To talk about, patterns or styles or whatever, okay? Cuadros is plaid, okay? I am not wearing plaid today, but I think Audrey's pants would qualify as de cuadros. Okay, lunares is polka dots or dots. I don't think I've seen people wear polka dots in forever, right? But if you have dots on your clothes, okay. Rayas is striped. Maybe I'll wear a striped shirt on Friday. All right, but de rayas if it has stripes. Okay. Algodón is cotton, so I'm pretty sure all my well, except for this, is cotton, algodón. If you're wearing wool, I know my socks, my calcetines are lana. Okay, lana is wool. Okay, seda is silk. Okay, and then finally, cuero is leather. Okay, if you have like a leather jacket, typically shoes are made out of leather or boots, but since y'all are wearing sneakers and Gabby's got Crocs and none of us have cuero on today. My belt is cuero, all right? Now, when it comes to synthetics, it's the same word. So I know my fleece is made out of polyester. In Espanol, it's polyester, okay? If something's made of nylon, it's nylon, all right? If it's rayon, it's rayon. If it's spandex, guess what? Spandex, yeah. All right, so if it's a synthetic, we don't change it. All right? Finally, or at least for this part, okay? The word llevar means to take or to carry. But when we use it for clothing, it means to wear. So the question, ¿qué llevas hoy? What are you wearing today? Llevo, I'm wearing camisa, pantalones, y chaleco. Okay, obviously I can go further. I'm wearing a shirt, pants, and a vest. Okay, to talk about what you're wearing. Ponerse means to put something on. Okay, so it is reflexive. So you would take the se, move it to the front. All right. And so I could say something like, when it's cold, me pongo la chaqueta. Okay? When it's cold, I put on a jacket. Me pongo la chaqueta. Okay? Finally, the word usar does mean to use. Okay? But when you use it with clothing, it's like something you wear like in general, okay? So like en el invierno, in the winter, uso el gorro, okay? In the wintertime, I use beanies, to keep my head, okay? Or en el invierno, yo uso guantes. In the wintertime, I wear gloves. Okay, so it's not like I'm wearing them right now or whatever, but it's what I wear in the winter. Okay, you could say something like en el invierno yo uso la sudadera. In wintertime I wear hoodies. Okay, just to keep yourself warm. Okay, now this chapter actually, like when it comes to the cultural bits. It has to do with Argentina and Uruguay. And the thing about Argentina is that they do have some very unique words. And so it does give you like some of the things that they say in Argentina that they really don't say anywhere else. And so when I moved there, all these words I had to learn because I had no clue. So nobody calls it a falda in Argentina, it's a pochera. Okay, nobody calls it a chaqueta in Argentina, it's campera, and so on. But you don't really need to know that, but they do put it there for you as part of the cultural note. Okay, if you turn the page, okay, and if you go to page 221, all right, at the very bottom, okay, They do have a couple of other things here. For example, botas de montaña. You might think, huh? Mountain boots? Well, remember that the phrase caminar por las montañas is to go hiking. So botas de montaña is hiking boots. Okay? If you're wearing a tracksuit or like, you know, whatever, conjunto deportivo, okay? If you wear a tank top, I used to tell people, just say, you know, tank top. No, it's a musculosa, literally a muscly one. Because with a tank top, you're showing off your muscles, okay, type of thing, musculosa, okay? Now, students will sometimes ask, along with that, well, Santos, what are sweatpants? What are sweats? What are, you know, all of that? Once again, for that, we don't really have a word, but we describe their function. So depending on what country you're in, pantalones de ejercicio, literally exercise pants, pantalones de correr, running pants, pantalones deportivos, sport pants, okay? So any one of those could be used for sweats or any other kind of pants that you would use for like athletics or sports, or even like warm-up pants type of thing, the really, really thin ones, all right? So, you know, you could say like maybe David there, llevo sudadera y pantalones deportivos. Basically just meaning I'm wearing sweats and a hoodie, okay, type of thing, all right? Now, if it was like the whole matching set, if they were like both black or both gray, he could say el conjunto deportivo, like, you know, it matches, okay? But I always think of tracksuits as like the pants and then like the zip-up jacket. You take it off and then you're ready to go running or whatever, okay? Pantalones de yoga, also for you ladies, if you wear like the leggings, the stretchy ones, okay? I suppose you could also call it that. Okay. Preguntas, question. Then let's just do one practica and then we will